Hey there, Brandon Smitley here from the Thirst for More podcast and Thirst Gym. And we are doing a masterclass here today on calorie counting. And so this is going to be a very simple and effective way to help you calculate your calories, whether you want to gain weight, lose weight. I'm really focusing more on losing weight. That tends to be why people prefer to count calories. But in this episode, this is also a visual thing. So if you happen to be listening on Spotify, you can check this out on YouTube, and it's actually going to have everything you can need from a visual perspective to get this done. So the goal here today is just to be able to help you figure out everything that you need to know from counting calories. So if you have any questions, just let me know, because this is being recorded live. Otherwise, you can just listen to it in retrospect and you'll get everything that you want here. So first things we're going to discuss today, how to calculate your basal metabolic rate or your BMR, understanding total daily energy expenditure or TDEE, the importance of a balanced diet alongside of calorie counting, tips for tracking your food intake effectively, common mistakes to avoid when calculating calories, and then my simple solution to calculate where to start if you have zero clue of what any of this means. So I'm going to kind of go into some sciencey stuff, but if you can figure out how to calculate BMR and TDEE, those will help you if you want to count calories. I'm not pro counting calories or anti counting calories. I'm pro what works best for you. So just pick the one today that we're going to kind of talk about that seems to work best for you. But obviously, if you can count calories, it's going to give you a more analytical view of what you're trying to do. And then if you stay till the end, I'm going to give you my simple solution to calculate calories to start. If you have zero clue and you're looking to lose weight, I give you the simplest way to figure this out. It will literally take you like 2 minutes with a calculator on your phone, and you're going to figure it all out. So first, we want to talk about the introduction to BMR. So we're going to talk about what the basal metabolic rate is, why it's essential to know your BMR, energy expenditure, weight management, fitness planning, and then factors influencing your BMR, like your age, your gender, genetics, body compositions, and all that. So there's clearly several things that are going to affect this. Understanding your BMR. So what is BMR? Essentially, it's the amount of energy your body needs at rest to maintain basic physiological functions, breathing, circulation, temperature regulation. If your body just exists, that's what it needs to be able to do to continue to exist. So you're going to need those calories to just be able to actually live. The difference between BMR and total daily energy expenditure. So we're going to explain how BMR is a component of TDEE here later, and its relationship to daily activity levels. So BMR is kind of like the foundation level of where things start, and then from there we just basically continue to add on to that foundation, and that's going to give us the information that we want for how many calories that we need or want to try to use to lose weight. Factors that affect your BMR, like we talked about, age. So as you age, your BMR is going to go down with age. You're generally less physically active. You're less, quote unquote, metabolically active. Tissues continue to age. And we just know that BMR declines with age. That's just a factor of life that happens. Gender does affect this. So males usually have a higher BMR. It's linked towards muscle mass. They're also generally bigger human beings. So that can be a factor as well. The muscle mass thing, you'll find research conflicting of whether adding muscle mass actually increases the amount of calories that you need. But the truth of the matter is, if you have more tissue, you're generally going to need more calories to sustain said tissue. It doesn't matter what kind of tissue that is, because if you don't have the calories there to support it, it's eventually going to go away, right? So body composition, again, will also affect this, and this kind of links that together. So the more muscle mass that you have, it's theoretically thought that your BMR is going to go up. So that's why strength training can be important, not only to help you necessarily lose weight, but maintain weight while you're trying to lose weight. If you can maintain muscle mass, the one that makes you look better, but two, it also helps control the amount of weight that you can maintain and keeps your calorie intake that you can have even higher. The next is going to be genetics. So, everybody's genetically predisposed towards certain things, illnesses, weight gain, weight loss. This is no different. So your genetics are going to have something to say about not only your metabolic rate, but how your body chooses to store fat, where it chooses to store fat. You can't really tell your body where to store fat. Your body's going to do what's optimal for it. So just make sure you keep that in mind. And then there are going to be hormonal factors. So your thyroid function, for example, can play a significant role, whether it's, working overdrive or it's underworking, that can all affect your basal metabolic rate and how many calories you're going to burn just at rest or just sitting. So the next thing we're going to talk about here are methods to calculate BMR. Oh, wrong thing here. Methods to calculate your BMR. These are two equations. I'm not going to go through them and walk you through every single piece of this calculation, but this is just so you can see essentially how complicated it is to calculate this. And that's why people use calculators or online things to figure it out. And I think that's the preferred way to do it. Old school, you just have to do this by hand. I know when I was in college and school, we had to do this in hand. So it's not an awful thing to necessarily have on hand, but again, we're in 2024. This is not going to be the most ideal way for you to figure out your BMR. The online calculators are going to make this much easier for you, and you can find other variations as well, but most of them are going to be based on the Harris-Bennett equation or the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation. Okay, that's considered more accurate, but again, personal preference there. So, how to use your BMR for your fitness goals. So in weight loss, the goal is obviously to create a calorie deficit. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. You're going to need to consume less calories than you consume. And that's what's going to give you the ability to not only lose weight, but be able to keep it off as well. Because if those calories creep up, then you'll gain weight. So that kind of gets into weight maintenance. So eating at your TDEE, which we'll talk about here a little bit more, your BMR plus your activity level, is then what's going to help you maintain that weight. So, it's great to get weight off, but we all know people that have lost, sometimes 5, 10, 15, maybe even 50, 100 pounds, and then they gain some of that back. Well, the goal is to have weight maintenance. You want to be able to eat at that maintenance level. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then weight gain, so consuming more calories than your BMR plus your activity level. So if you're trying to put on muscle, you're trying to put on weight, then you just got to make sure that you're eating more calories than you consume. And it's just a simple equation for all three of these. So you're basically eating less, eating more, or eating around maintenance plus or minus, because it's going to be hard to always eat exactly to that. But as long as our average calorie intake is around that maintenance level, then our weight will maintain. Okay, so that's pretty easy to understand as well. Next here. Oh, I'm sorry. Keep clicking the wrong one. There we go. So limitations of BMR calculations, first and foremost, are that BMRs are formulas and are estimates, and they don't account for all variables, muscle versus fat mass. They just generally look at weight as a whole and to give you those numbers. And they also don't factor in changes in activity level, metabolism, or illness. And those can all affect your BMR as well. So BMR is, again, just a rough estimate, but it's a good place to start to understand what your body's going to need at that particular point in time. So now let's talk about TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. And this is the total number of calories your body burns in a day. So now we're going to, like we talked about, we're going to take that BMR as the base level, and now we're going to add layers on top of that to give us our total calories for the day, which is ideally what you're going to want to use to calculate how much you should eat. The importance of the TDEE and knowing that is crucial for maintaining, losing, or gaining weight. So the more accurate you can be with this number, the easier it's going to be to focus on losing, maintaining, or gaining. And then the overview of this is just that there are several components of TDEE: basal metabolic rate, activity level, and other things that we'll talk about here in a second. So TDEE can actually be somewhat complicated because there's so many moving pieces, where BMR is kind of thought to be like pretty steady, right? It can obviously fluctuate a little bit, but generally your body needs so much to exist, and it's not going to change a whole lot except for with age and some other metabolic things, but it's going to be a little more concrete, where total daily energy expenditure has a lot of different factors. So we just want to make sure that we keep that in mind. And I'm going to talk about some of those here now. So, some of those are the basal metabolic rate, which we already talked about, the physical activity level that you have. So how much you move. So, do you work out 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 1 time a week? That will affect essentially how much you need, but also within a day, not just a week, how much you move. There's also a thing called thermic effect of food. So this is just the energy required for digestion, absorption, and metabolism of food. And we typically use around 10% of your daily calorie intake. So if you eat 2,000 calories in a day, it's estimated that approximately 200 of those calories are going to be used for the processing of those foods in some degree, whether that's the chewing, the digestion, the excretion, the absorption. Those all are things that have to happen, and you need energy to be able to do those. You can't just make that happen, right? It can't just come out of nowhere. The next is going to be non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and this is a famous acronym in the fitness industry called NEAT. Everyone wants to focus on NEAT to help them lose weight or make you enjoy your food a little bit more, because the higher your NEAT is, technically the more food you can eat and still lose weight, which is awesome. So it's basically just the energy expended from daily tasks like walking, standing, fidgeting, moving around, just general movement as I'm moving my hands, right? If I just sat here, I would burn much less than if I actually am moving my hands and being a little bit more involved. The next is then going to be the thermic effect of exercise. So the great thing about exercise as well is that as you move, we have the thermic effect of that, and that's going to actually help us lose a little bit more weight as well, burn a little bit more calories, but it's used during physical activity, both structured exercise and other physical movements, like I'm kind of talking about. I move my hands, move my mouth. Those are all things. There will be thermic effect from that, and that will increase your calorie burning in the day. So why TDEE varies between individuals? So there's plenty of factors, just like with BMR. Age and your TDEE is going to decrease with age, again, partially because of your BMR, but then there's also the fact that you're probably going to move less, you're probably going to eat less, all those other factors that we talked about, how you physically burn calories throughout the day, will all generally go down. So therefore, as you age, those are all going to go down. Again, going back to gender, males tend to have a higher TDEE due to muscle mass. That just goes back to the BMR-based stuff. It's not that guys are necessarily any special in terms of how we physically move, but if we do have more muscle mass, we're probably going to burn a little more than the females. Body composition, again, we kind of talked about muscle burns more calories than fat. Again, this research is kind of convoluted, but it's generally just thought that if you have more tissue, you're going to need more calories. And that's just the best way that I try to explain it to people. The more tissue you have, and ideally the more muscle mass tissue that you have, means that you're going to be more physically active and burn more calories. Your activity level can be from sedentary to a very active lifestyle. Those will all vastly vary your TDEE, and this is why exercise is usually pushed pretty hard, because the more active lifestyle you have, the more calories you're naturally going to burn, which can then keep you leaner, because then the only way that you're going to catch up to that is to eat food. But from a healthy perspective, we don't want to use exercise as a way to lose weight. We want to use it as a way to promote health. And then the way that we eat with our nutrition should combine with that to create a healthy lifestyle. And then that will also hopefully help you lose weight, gain weight, maintain your weight, depending on what you're doing. Your metabolic adaptation, so changes in your metabolism due to dieting, health conditions, etc., will all factor in, again, towards your total daily energy expenditure. Again, that just comes to all metabolic-based stuff. So it's all very similar to BMR. We're just going to have an uptick because we're now factoring in activity level. So how to calculate your total daily energy expenditure. First, we want to use that BMR as a starting point, like we talked about earlier. Whichever one of those two equations you prefer or what you use from a calculator are kind of going to give you your BMR. It's going to help you shape where you start. And again, we talked about starting with that base layer. And then we're going to have the activity factor multipliers. So you can these are also very rough. Okay, they're not perfect, but this gives you a good idea of how to calculate what you need based upon your activity level. So if you're sedentary, so little or no exercise, you're going to multiply your BMR times 1.2. So let's say your BMR comes out to 1,500 calories. Then you're going to multiply that times 1.2, and that's going to give you an increase. So to give you an idea, that's probably going to be around 1,800 calories if my math off the top of my head is right. Just kind of going off the top of my head here, but that should give you an idea. And then just going to continue to go light activity, moderate, very active, and super active. Now, I can already give you some examples here. So light activity is light exercise or sports 1 to 3 days per week. So, you might be going on walks a couple days a week. That's what I would consider light activity. Moderately active would be more focused activity, to where you're actually probably going to the gym maybe a couple days a week. You're intentionally going on walks. You're doing things to be a little more active majority of the days of the week. You're very active would basically be every day you're doing something physically active, especially hard exercise. This might also be somebody that just works generally a physically active job but doesn't exercise. They're probably going to be in that moderate to very active. And then the super active is saying, hey, you're intentionally working hard physically with a physical job, or doing 2 times a day training, or training very hard for specific goals. These are usually your athletes, your strength athletes that are doing stuff, people that work physical jobs and on top of being physically active. They're going to have a very high BMR. And you can see that's almost 2 times your BMR. So we take that 1,500 calorie per person BMR, they're essentially going to be close to 3,000 calories a day. That is a lot of calories. Okay. So this is, again, total rough estimate here. So how do we use TDEE in our goal setting? So again, this is going to be kind of very basic, but if our goal is to lose weight, we want to ensure we're creating a calorie deficit. So we're consuming fewer calories than our total daily energy expenditure leads us to weight loss. So that can be done through 2 factors. One, that can be decreasing the amount of food that we eat, or it can be increasing the amount of activity that we have. So you've got 2 different ways to look at that, and they will combine to get you to combine them so you can eat less and exercise more. Generally, it's like a teeter-totter. The less that you eat, the more you're going to want to be physically active. So just keep that in mind. Then we have weight maintenance. This would be just trying to maintain your weight. Again, going back to that BMR, we don't want to gain weight or lose weight. We're going to try to find a nice, healthy balance that lets us eat what we kind of want to eat in a healthy realm, exercise what we want to exercise, and our weight will stay relatively normal. And the body strives for homeostasis. So you're going to get signals that say, hey, I'm hungry, or hey, I'm full, or hey, I'm tired. Your body's trying to put you in a certain place. If you were supposed to go to the gym and exercise and you're just like mentally out of it, you're like, man, I'm tired, I don't want to go. Your body may be obviously trying to downregulate your physical activity. And that's very common for people usually trying to lose weight, is that your body will make you tired so you're not burning more calories, so that you're being more resourceful with what you're doing. And I know that's an adaptation, right? That's what our body is supposed to do. And then when it comes to the opposite, we're going to try to gain weight, right? So the goal is going to try to eat more calories than we need. So we're going to consume more than our total daily energy expenditure for muscle gain or just general weight increase. This is, again, generally thought more when it comes to putting on muscle mass, or athletes trying to fill out a weight class or fill in a certain position, like in football. That's usually what they say. You usually don't see people trying to gain weight to get fat. They're either trying to build muscle or fill out a certain position in a sport. So practical applications of total daily energy expenditure. We've got meal planning. So you can use your total daily energy expenditure to set daily calorie goals based on your individual fitness objectives. So meal planning is a good way to have a structured plan to what you want to do. I'm not very pro meal planning in terms of like counting every single calorie of every single meal, doing the same stuff 5 meals, 7 days a week. That is very, very regimented. That's very bodybuilding-esque. That's not realistic for the average person. And if you are the average person listening to this, meal planning to me means more buying the right foods from the grocery store, having an idea of what you're going to make, or pre-planning the meals that you're going to make with your significant other, or what you're going to make for the week, having fruits and vegetables readily available at home, not buying junk food, having that in the cupboard, because again, if it's not there, you're not going to eat it. If it is there, you probably will eat it. So to me, meal planning is more of structuring a goal and planning what you need for the day, rather than that regimented 5 meals of just beef, rice, and vegetables. You can do that, and I'm not against that, but just so we understand what I'm talking about by meal planning here. Tracking progress, again, more practical applications. So monitoring the changes in your weight and adjusting your calories as you need to, based upon your energy and expenditure fluctuates with activity or body composition changes. So, as you lose weight, let's say you lose 20 pounds, you're going to probably need less calories than what you had 20 pounds ago. Not always, but generally you're going to need probably a little bit less to continue to see progress. Just like when it comes to strength training, you're going to have to continue to add weight to the bar, to the exercise you're doing, to continue to make progress, right? If you just always use the same weight, you're not going to make any more progress. So, or you got to add reps, right? So the goal here is that we are tracking progress, not only from a weight perspective, but that might also include pictures, how you feel, how your energy levels are. Weight is just the one thing that people track because it's a number on a scale, but I would encourage you to track your average weight. So weigh yourself several times a week and track that average, because your weight is going to fluctuate up and down a lot throughout not only the course of trying to lose or gain weight, but even throughout the day. So, that's going to be key when it comes to tracking your progress. And then you want to adapt your total daily energy is going to be adapting. So changes in your lifestyle, your activity, and aging can also alter that. So, if you go from working a physically active job to a sedentary job, you're going to want to recalculate or refigure out what kind of food you're eating, because if you continue to eat like you were when you had a physically active job and now you have a sedentary job, chances are you're probably going to gain weight because you were just so physically active. And again, we talked about that NEAT equation. So that's where that kind of comes into play. So limitations of your total daily energy expenditure calculations, again, it's just an estimation, all right? We don't have an exact way to figure it out unless if we get into a lab or an academic-based setting. And even then, we're probably still not going to be 100% accurate. We're probably going to be pretty close. But understand these are estimations. And while it may not be 100% accurate, it's going to help you with your lifestyle differences. So you've got your over-under estimating activity. So this is where a lot of people have issues, is they misjudge their physical activity level, and that can lead to errors in what they're going to actually calculate out. So many people think that they're more physically active than they actually are, and so they up count those calories, and then they have a hard time losing weight. So my suggestion is to usually err on the side of caution, because it's much easier to add calories to meet your physical demands than it is to keep pulling them away. And if you happen to be under eating just a little bit, it's easier to add those calories back and you actually feel good, where you're obviously the goal is going to be to lose weight. Then we would much rather be a little bit more aggressive just to be on the safe side in terms of calculating the activity level that you have. The next that we've got is the metabolic adaptations. So this is another limitation. Prolonged calorie deficits or surpluses can alter your metabolism, impacting your energy expenditure. So this mainly comes down to just chronic undereating or chronic overeating and building bad relationships with food, not only mentally, physically, but also metabolically. This is way more common in calorie deficits. The female population that chronically undereats 1,000 calories or less a day, that is not healthy. Your metabolism, your hormones, those will all begin to downregulate if this is done too chronically over time. This is why crash diets do not work. Yes, you will see an immediate quick weight loss gain, but again, not a practical way to get things done. And also, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very enjoyable to me. I would like to be able, I'm going to diet, but it's not going to be exactly quote unquote enjoyable. I want to be able to enjoy some stuff along the way. Next here, we've got the importance of a balanced diet alongside calorie counting. So again, I'm not 100% pro calorie counting. You do what works best for you, but the goal is to understand that there's an importance of having a balanced diet alongside of that. Yes, you can lose weight just eating ice cream or just eating cheeseburgers, but a balanced diet and a healthy lifestyle is kind of what we're after here, on top of understanding why we're counting calories. So we're going to combine these two things together, and that's what's going to give you what you need. So let's first get some definitions out of the way. So the definition of calorie counting is a method of tracking the number of calories consumed in order to lose weight or gain weight. It involves estimating your daily energy needs and then consuming fewer calories than that to create energy deficit. We've kind of been talking about that for the past 20 minutes, right? Definition of a balanced diet is that the balanced diet is a diet that provides the body with the right amount and proportions of nutrients to stay healthy. It includes a variety of foods such as vegetables, fruits, protein, dairy, healthy fats. This also includes your micro and your macronutrients. So, it's not just eating carbs, protein, fats, but ensuring that you're getting other things in there with that diet. And that's going to be, again, your fruit and your vegetables, proteins, carbohydrates, fiber, healthy fats. That's going to make it more balanced, and that's what's going to make it more sustainable, and that's what's going to make it healthier for you as an individual. And then why are both important? Because quality and quantity of food together will lead to a better long-term approach towards health and fitness. Whether your goal is to gain weight, lose weight, be healthy, improve your lifestyle, does not matter. Understanding how to control both of these things is what ultimately is going to help you do that. So let's go to understanding calorie counting. Kind of what we've talked about, everything so far has been focused around calories. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here when it comes to this. So calorie is just a unit of measurement used to quantify energy. Specifically, it represents the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. When it comes to nutrition, however, we typically use kilocalories, or what people call kcals, which equals 1,000 or kilocalories, where 1 kilocalorie equals 1,000 calories. On food labels, the term calorie usually refers to kilocalories. And that sounds really confusing. It's way more complicated than it needs to be. But when you look at calorie on the food package, you're basically looking at what we call a kcal. And that's just a scientific way, again, what we talked about, of raising the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. And that's why people call it burning calories, because you're raising temperature of things. So hopefully that makes sense where it kind of came from. The purpose of calorie counting is managing your energy intake for weight loss, maintenance, or gain. And then, how calorie counting can create a more mindful approach to eating habits is that by counting calories can help you do that. We also want to make sure that it is enforcing quality habits of being like, oh, okay, this donut typically is going to have 250 to 300 calories. So if I know that I need 2,000 calories in a day, I understand that this is well over 10% of my calorie needs for the day in one item. Maybe I don't want to spend my calories in that way. Maybe I want to find something else, right? It's just a way to numerically put something there. And you don't want to have a bad relationship with that, but it does make it easier to track your calories in the long run. And then limitations of calorie counting alone are that the counting calories doesn't account for nutritional quality. And so this has kind of been the big thing years ago, is that people were talking about eating Pop-Tarts or ice cream or the sour gummy worms to get calories or carbohydrates or sugar. And again, yes, you are getting those calories. Eat less, you are going to lose weight. But again, it doesn't account for any kind of nutritional quality that you're getting. And there's more to things than just calories. And then you have the risk of nutrient deficiencies or poor food choices when only focusing on numbers. And so that's kind of the big thing here, is that you understand that you don't want to have those deficiencies. Those deficiencies can affect how you feel. They can affect other processes in the body. A good example that most people probably understand is if you lack vitamin C, then you get scurvy like the pirates, right? So yeah, they were obviously eating enough to stay alive, but they weren't getting a vital vitamin that they needed to stay healthy. So we want to make sure that we have a balance here. And so we're going to kind of talk a little bit more of, what exactly is a balanced diet? Well, the key components of a balanced diet are first your macronutrients, which would be your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats. And each have a role in terms of energy and bodily functions. So just very, very quickly here, carbohydrates are mainly used for your energy production when it comes to running fast, doing things, physically active. Carbohydrates are used in your brain. Glycogen comes from carbohydrates, and that's what makes carbohydrates so important, that our body generally wants to run on that fuel source. Next is protein. That's how we build muscle, how we build tissue. That's usually thought more so in the physical activity realm of eating protein to build muscle, but proteins play other vital important roles throughout our body in different processes. And then we have fats. That's generally your more long duration based energy. So many people are still believe that if you eat fat, it's going to go to fat. That's not necessarily true. It's just a very dense, calorically macronutrient. And so it's over double the amount of calories per gram than the carbohydrates and proteins. So it's very calorically dense. This can be great if you need to gain weight, or if you need a high amount of energy in a short period amount of time to ingest, then fats are great. And again, they each have their role within the body. Micronutrients. So we've got vitamins and minerals for your overall health. This is what I was talking about with the scurvy thing. So all your vitamins, your minerals, like your iron, your magnesium, your sodium, those are all things, again, that your body needs. If you're getting deficient in those, then your body can begin to have other health issues. And then the other nice thing about a balanced diet is you have food variety. So if you have diverse food groups, fruits, vegetables, proteins, healthy fats, and whole grains, carbohydrates, one, you don't have to eat the same thing all the time. So that gets the monotony broken up. But two, then you get all those macro and micronutrients that you need throughout the day. Your body's going to be more keen to that, I think is probably the best way to say that. And that's just going to help you overall live a healthier lifestyle. Can you eat the same fruits, vegetables, proteins, healthy fats, and carbohydrates day in and day out? Absolutely. But again, that's not what I would really truly consider a balanced diet, unless if you can ensure that through all those things you are getting all of your micro and macronutrients, which you get the macro, but you get the micro. It depends on what kind of fruits and vegetables you have. And that's why many people try to lean towards fruits that are in season. One, they're fresher and they taste better, but it's going to give you the micronutrients that are generally in that season. And then people also want variety. You get your benefits of your balanced diet. So it obviously supports your metabolism, your muscle function, your immune health, energy levels. It prevents chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and osteoporosis. And the reason I bring those things up is that, if you're not getting vitamin D or calcium, then you're not, your chances of getting osteoporosis are much higher. If you're not getting different vitamins and minerals, you can also begin to have any kind of other dysfunctions metabolically throughout the body. And then the diabetes, a little bit, I think it's a little bit of aggressive to probably put on here, but, I think what we're really trying to focus on here is if you eat too much carbohydrates and not enough physical activity, then you can give yourself type 2 diabetes. You don't want to do that. So obviously we're trying to promote health here, but it is a realistic thing that by eating too much carbohydrates with no physical activity or doing anything to help your insulin response, you will get type 2 diabetes in due time. So it's just a matter of when you will if you continue that lifestyle. So next we got why calorie counting alone isn't just enough. And again, we've kind of talked about this, but calorie counting is not the end all be all. We want to make sure that our nutrient quality versus quantity, and what we understand here is that not all calories are created equal. So 200 calories from vegetables is not the same as 200 calories from sugary snacks. One, you're going to eat a lot more volume of food from 200 calories of vegetables, right? Versus 200 calories of, let's say, gummy worms. So you're not going to get any kind of quality nutrition there. You're just going to get a lot of calories. But again, there's somewhere in the middle is what you want to have. I would not recommend you try to eat 200 calories of broccoli in one sitting. You're probably going to make yourself sick. But the goal that you see here is that they're not created equal in terms of what's provided. In terms not only sustenance, so we talk about fiber. Your 200 calories of vegetables is going to give you a ton of fiber, where your sugary snacks are not going to do that. They're also going to give you a large plethora of vitamins and minerals, where again the sugary snacks are not. So just make sure you understand that. The micronutrient deficiency risk, so focusing solely on calories, like I talked about, can lead to a lack of essential vitamins and minerals. So yes, you can supplement through a vitamin mineral, and I recommend that most athletes and clients do this just to cover your bases. But you ideally want to get that from natural food sources first, if you possibly can, because there's other benefits there as well. And then you've got energy levels in your performance. So nutrient-dense foods contribute to sustained energy and mental clarity compared to empty calorie foods. So this kind of goes back to being a high-performing athlete or trying to exercise. If you're having quality foods, then you're more likely to have better quality workouts and better mental clarity. And that stuff all kind of makes sense. So the next thing we got here is how to balance calorie counting with a nutrient-dense diet. This is kind of, to me, what the important aspect is here, is how do we balance this, right? Counting calories, we know, is a analytical way to lose weight or gain weight, because you've got to have some numbers behind you to understand how much you should or shouldn't be eating. But if it's not balanced with a nutrient-dense diet and has some kind of sustainability to it, you don't want to count calories your whole life. So first, we want to try to focus on whole foods. So foods rich in nutrients like your vegetables, your lean proteins, your whole range healthy fats. If you focus on those first, those are more likely going to help you see the results you want, because they're going to help you be fuller for longer. You're going to get those micronutrients. You're going to feel better. You're less likely to have GI issues. There's just a lot of great things, obviously, behind eating whole foods. And then you want to then focus on your macronutrient distribution. So this can vary on goals. Generally, you see like a 40-30-30 split, kind of as like the quote unquote gold standard, which would be 40% carbohydrates, 30% protein, 30% fat. I'm not too big in terms of over coaching or recommending things for people. I think you find what works best for you as a person. I do think that you should have some minimal protein intake, depending upon your goal weight, which we'll get to towards the end. But how you fluctuate your protein, or I'm sorry, your carbohydrates and your fat, I think is personal preference. And I've done everything personally. I've had other people do things personally. You'll lose weight regardless as long as the calories are in check. But some people are carbohydrate cravers. They love eating their carbohydrates. They're going to want their toast. They're going to want their oatmeal. They're going to want a sugary snack sporadically. So up the carbohydrate intake and decrease fat intake. Some people are the opposite. Some people love their peanut butter, especially when they're dieting. So you can give them more fat, less carbohydrates. And again, you're going to find a healthy balance for what that person needs. The goal here is that I want to make you understand is that you're not trying to eliminate a macronutrient entirely from your diet. This would be, again, your low carb or your keto, or this would be your carnivore diets. I'm not a big fan of those because, again, sustainability is not there for the average person. There are exceptions to the rule, but more cases than not, you don't want to do that. I personally was limiting macronutrients during my competitive days. I'll be honest with you. I just shifted the timing, but I was still getting carbs, proteins, and fats throughout the day. I was just manipulating my timing based on my workout. And we'll kind of talk about that here in a little bit too. So portion control and food quality. So controlling portions while ensuring that nutrient density allows for effective calorie counting without compromising health. So the goal here behind calorie counting and having a nutrient-dense diet is that you have a balance, right? We want to make sure that the calorie counting is teaching us how to do something, and the goal is to ultimately make better food choices and understand what those portion controls look like. The goal is to not have you keep a calorie counting app on your phone for the rest of your life and you're counting every single calorie for the rest of your life. Again, it's not long-term sustainably. I live in the fitness industry and do this for a living and love what I do, and I don't count calories right now. I don't want to. I've got a kid. It does not make sense for me and my lifestyle right now. Okay? I just try to eat way more healthy foods, limit those foods that I have, and when I do have other foods, I eat what I want. So again, we want to try to find that balance. Then we also, again, want to incorporate treats in moderation, and this comes back to the balance. Unless if you're trying to achieve some kind of crazy look like in bodybuilding or make a particular weight class in a sport, or you're a very high-performing athlete, treats in moderation make things more sustainable. It lets you enjoy life. If you can't enjoy life, you don't want to eat like a robot. I don't want to eat like a robot. So just understand that how to enjoy occasional indulgences within the framework of a balanced diet, you can do that without derailing your progress. It is truly doable. It's not going to ruin you. And even if, let's say, you have a bad day, right? And you have a couple times where you go off the wagon, you go off the wheel, you just jump right back on. Okay? There's not a bad thing that can happen from you jumping back on the wheel after having a bad day. Okay, so I'm not going to try to go into that anymore. That could be a whole soapbox by itself. I want you to understand that you should be able to eat the foods that you like in moderation. Okay, you can have your piece of pizza or 2 pieces of pizza every week. If you account for that in your nutrition, may mean you're eating a little bit less throughout the week. But if those 2 pieces of pizza mean a lot to you to have every Saturday with your kids and your wife, then I'm 100% behind that. Let's do it. Let's figure out a way to manipulate the other meals throughout the week, eating a little bit less so that we can still see our goals if your goal is weight loss. So the role of nutrient timing. Now, this is getting into some minutia, but if you are exercising or you're after certain performance things, this can 100% help you. So in terms of meal timing and metabolism, so eating at regular intervals supports metabolism and energy levels. Yes, it does to an extent. What I like about eating at regular intervals or eating throughout the day is that it's going to control hunger. And if we can control hunger, you're more likely to not go overboard. Where if you come into a meal and you're starving, you're going to be eating with your eyes, not your goals, not what's up in your head, what you should be doing. You're going to then be effectively looking at food as a way to fill your hunger, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to build a bad relationship with food. So that's why I'm big at the regular intervals. Supports the metabolism. That's wishy-washy at this point, but there's theories that it can. At the end of the day, the calories in, calorie out is going to matter the most. But I do believe that if you can eat more regularly, it's going to keep things more balanced, and then you're going to be less hungry, and it makes things a little bit more bearable. In terms of post-workout nutrition, so replenishing your nutrients, your protein, your carbohydrates for muscle recovery and energy post-exercise, this I do support. However, I don't think you have to have a protein shake and X amount of carbohydrates right after you work out. You do have a window. That anabolic window thing isn't like the special thing that I once thought it was. If you know that you're going from the gym after a hard workout and you're going to go home and eat a quality dinner with your family, say you guys are going to have, like some lean beef and some taco shells and some salsa and vegetables with that and a little bit of rice, that's good for me, right? You might eat a little more protein than you normally would. You might normally have 4 or 6 ounces of beef for that serving size. You might upregulate this to 6, 8, maybe 10 ounces because you worked out hard. I'm 100% behind that. But the thing that I think that's important here is that you get some kind of food and calories in your body, ideally within a 2-hour window after that, just so that, one, you're not incredibly hungry, but you're also kickstarting the recovery process. That's going to be what's most important for me, not that quote unquote anabolic window. You're not going to lose your gains, but if you can kickstart the recovery process faster, you might be less sore. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to make it to the next meal more realistically. Then your pre and post workout meals. So you can plan your meals around your activity for optimal energy use and recovery. This, I think, is somewhat important, especially if you're a high performing athlete. It definitely is important. You definitely want to get food and calories in 60 to 90 minutes before you work out. So that way you have the energy. You're not hungry during practice or performances, or you're not hungry during your workouts. You're going to have the energies that you want. And then post workout, we already just kind of talked about that, but just making sure that you can get to the next meal in one piece without a bunch of hunger cues, because a lot of people, after you do physical activity, you get really hungry. And if you don't put something in your body the next meal, then you're more likely to derail or overeat if that's not what you're really trying to do. So practical tips for combining calorie counting with balanced diet. So I gave you kind of a lot of information here in the past 40 minutes, but we want some practical tips. Okay, I want things that you can take and immediately use once this masterclass lecture, whatever you want to call this, is over. So the first one is going to be using apps and tools to aid you. Tools like MyFitnessPal, Chronometer to track your calories and ensure balanced nutrient intake can really help you. The nice thing about 2024 is everything is almost electronic nowadays. So you're not going to have an issue of finding an app that you like or a tool that you like to help you do that. You can scan it with a barcode, right? You're going to have ways that you can use it across different platforms many times. I know that there's several platforms that are linked together with your nutrition and your training or your workouts. Use those to your advantage. They can help keep you more consistent. Sometimes listen to you for reminders. That's all great. But that's what you want to remember here. Meal planning and prep. So again, I kind of talked about this earlier, but if you plan your meals ahead and or shopping for ideal foods to align with both calorie goals and your nutritional balance. So again, I'm more after the shopping and figuring out what's going to work best for you first and foremost, than again, making those 5 meals of beef, rice, and vegetables 5 days every single day for 7 days a week. But again, if you're not shopping the bad foods, you're not buying the foods that you're likely to give cravings into, you're making sure you're buying fruits and vegetables, you're finding things that are sustainable, that your family likes to enjoy, but still provide healthy things. And then again, providing you nutritional balance as well, all very doable in today's day and age. And then if you do choose to prep some meals, take some lunches to your work or between classes, or however you're choosing to travel, I'm obviously 100% behind that. I think pre-planning like that is fantastic. You just don't have to go overboard and doing it every single meal for the whole rest of your life. Taking your lunch can be a very beneficial thing, especially as people try to go out and get lunch during work or something like that. You're going to say, well, I've already brought my meal today, so therefore you're more likely to stay on track with your goals rather than going out to, get pizza or something like that. And then also practical thing that we're talking about here is learning to read labels and nutritional information, right? Understanding that when you go to buy something from a store, you can turn it around and look at that nutrition facts label and understand how many calories are in a serving size. And what other kind of nutritional value is there? Is this an empty calorie based food to where you're just getting calories, you're not getting any kind of micronutrients? You might be able to put it back. And the good rule of thumb here is usually that you shop the outside of the store. As you go into the aisles, that's where the more processed packaged things are. If you're on the outside aisles, that's usually where your fruits, vegetables, breads, legumes, meats, those are all things, your milk, your dairy, those are all on the outside because they usually need to be refrigerated or taken care of. And it's a much easier place to shop and kind of keep that there. Again, not against things being packaged. There's nothing wrong with that, but you generally want to stay on the outside. So, but having the power to having the power to read the labels and nutrition information is kind of what we're after here as well. So the long-term benefits of a balanced diet with calorie control is that you have sustainable weight management. So yes, counting calories can certainly help you do this, but after you understand how you count calories, it makes it much easier to track your food. And it makes sustainable weight loss more sustainable. So you can focus both on calories and nutrition, then helps maintain weight in the long run. So you're not just looking at one thing or the other. You've got a full-on approach to help you be more successful. At the end of the day, that's all I'm out after here is helping you be more successful. You're going to have better energy, mood, cognitive function. You're going to have improved physical and mental well-being when consuming a variety of nutrient-dense foods. We've kind of talked about this. I've hit on this several times already, but that can be a big play in helping you staying on track with your nutritional approach. You have a prevention of chronic diseases. Not only most people are doing this because you want to improve your health. So we want to prevent chronic diseases if we can. So the role of the balanced diet is going to be preventing long-term health issues like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity. We know that these things are destroying our health as people. And so having a balanced diet, learn to control your calories, lose some weight if that's what you need to do, get physically active are all going to help improve the long-term health of you, but then preventing those chronic diseases. And if you don't have those chronic diseases, guess what? You're going to live longer. You're going to feel better as you live longer. And that's ideally you want to enjoy what life you have, right? You don't want to go into your 50s and 60s feeling like absolute crap. So that's kind of what we're after there. Tips for tracking your food intake effectively. So tracking your food can be important, no question. And if you're going to track it, how you track it can be important. So we don't want this to hinder our ability to make errors because you will make errors. So I'm going to try to talk about how we can avoid some of that. So the first one's going to be choosing the right tracking method. So we've already talked about the apps and digital tools, MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, all great. You can also go old school with food journal, pen and paper. If you don't want to do that, you can be accurate with your portion sizes. So by use of measuring cups, kitchen scales, visual portion size guides, doing that while you're counting your calories teaches you what those things look like. And that's a very important thing because many people do not know what a serving size of meat or carbohydrates or fat looks like. But once you start measuring it and putting it into cups or putting it on your plate that way, you're like, wow, I definitely was way overeating by just eyeballing things, right? So it also gives you the practice of reading food labels and understanding how those food labels can then impact portion sizes and then how portion sizes can affect how you put things on your plate further on down the road, not just from counting calories. And then the other things in terms of tips is to track or log your food immediately. So if you are going to count your calories, track your meals and your snacks right after eating them or even as you would prepare your food to avoid forgetting the details that you could have had. You also then want to set reminders to log your meals at specific times if you need it. So if you know that the way that your day is, you're going to have your breakfast, a snack, a lunch, a snack, and a dinner, you can set reminders in your phone or something to remember to log those meals just in case if you happen to forget. Not me personally, but I do think some people are reminder based, so that's entirely okay. More tips. We also want to track everything, even small stacks. And this is where a lot of calorie counting and tracking people have issues is they don't track everything. I mean everything. This includes your beverages, your condiments, your snacks to get a full picture of what kind of intake you have. You don't want to underestimate the calories from seemingly minor food items. And condiments is probably the biggest one that gets people. because you think, oh, I'm going to have a little bit of ketchup or a little bit of barbecue sauce or a little bit of ranch. And while that may not seem that bad initially, once you start really adding that up, next thing you know, you've got 300 or 400 calories more that you've ingested that you've not accounted for. And if your total daily calories should be at 1900 and you eat 1900, but really you're eating 2300, you can see why your progress would stall. So that's the one bad thing is you do have to track everything. You just got to be honest with yourself when you do that. Be honest and consistent. So avoid skipping or cheat meals to underreporting portions. So the thing here is if you have a slice of pizza, just track it if you're going to be tracking food. Don't think that because you didn't track it, didn't eat there. You just got to be honest with yourself. It's okay. We talked about that earlier. Going off your nutrition plan for a meal or something like that is entirely okay. Just get back on the wagon as soon as you can. Everything will be okay. And again, consistency is key to gaining accurate insights and making progress. So the more consistently you track stuff, the more you're likely you're going to be able to continue to recognize what serving sizes look like and what works best for you. Then you're going to want to review your progress. So regularly analyze patterns. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. Are you hitting your macronutrient goals? Are you consuming too many empty calories? And then adjust your intake based upon your health or your fitness goals. So by analyzing patterns that you have, hey, on Saturdays, am I generally eating too much food? Am I likely to go over and have a snack or a dinner or something with friends and family? Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but let's retweak how we're doing things throughout the week so the one we can set ourselves up for more sustainable progress, or maybe we try to plan a little better, or we're eating better quality things off the menu when we go. We get a salad instead of the burger. We try to figure out ways, can you make a burger at home during the weekday that's more healthy, have leaner meat, low fat cheese, put some vegetables on there, whole grain bun, eat some more vegetables on the side, a baked potato rather than French fries. And next thing you know, you've taken a meal that you genuinely like to eat. You just made it healthier, and now you get to have what you want. And then when you go out to eat, now you can have that salad and it's like, hey, I'm still eating something on the menu. I'm still enjoying things, but I'm doing what works best for me and my goals. So we just got to change the framework and how we plan stuff. But if you can analyze those patterns of how you're eating, now you'll be able to make progress better. Okay, so common mistakes to avoid when you're calculating your calories. First, we have to talk about this, but not measuring your portions accurately. So the mistake is usually estimating portion sizes without using tools like measuring cups or kitchen scales. So if you're going to calculate calories and go down that whole, 9 yards, 10 yards, whatever it is, you're going to want to make sure that you're measuring stuff. And then the solution is, again, to use your scales, measuring cups, accurate portion sizes, especially for your calorie-dense foods. So measuring appropriately will definitely help you. Forgetting the long snacks and small items, we've kind of talked about that. So the mistake is in overlooking those small snacks, the condiments, the beverages that can add up throughout the day. Your solution there is going to be track everything you consume, even small bites, sauces, drinks with coffee, like with cream or alcohol. Not alcohol in your coffee, but I guess you could do that. But if you are having alcohol, that you're tracking that. Those are all things that tend to be forgotten. So just make sure you log all that, and that'll help you be more consistent. Then we also have relying on generic database entries is an issue. So the mistake is using inaccurate or generic entries from a tracking app, which may not reflect the specific brand or food that you're eating. And this is kind of the bad thing about those apps, is that you may have to scan a lot of stuff. They may not have exactly what you had. If you have to estimate, estimating's better than not having it. But if you're constantly estimating and you have no idea what the brands are that you're eating, you're probably going to be off a little bit. So the solution is to double check the food nutrition label or choose verified entries in tracking apps when you can. And that's going to help you be a little more accurate. Then we've got ignoring cooking methods. So a mistake is failing to account for added calories from oils, butter, sauces used in cooking. And this is a big one that gets a lot of people, is that you're going to line your pan in oil, you're going to cook things in butter. That's factored in, okay? That makes it a little bit harder to calculate stuff sometimes. I understand that. So the solution is going to be do your best to track your oils, your butters, your cooking ingredients separately, because they can obviously significantly increase your calorie content because those are fats. And we talked about how those have 9 calories per gram. That's over double carbohydrates and proteins. And you're cooking everything in that, you're getting that extra calories and fat from there. Underestimating liquid calories. Kind of talked about this one as well, but the mistake is forgetting to count calories from liquids like juices, sodas, alcohol, or even milk. Solution and always log beverages to account for hidden liquid calories. My suggestion personally is that you try to drink calorie-free drinks as much as you can, and you don't have to worry about this. I understand there are people that like their juice. They like their low-cal sodas. They may like a glass of milk. You like to have a little bit of an alcoholic drink on the weekend sporadically. Again, I'm not going to knock that. It's not going to be the best way to consume those calories, but again, if it's what keeps you on track and having a one alcoholic drink on the weekend, that one beer, you just got to count it though. Because if you constantly don't count it, that's going to be 100 calories that you're having to worry about. And 100 calories may not seem like much, but when you do it all the time, it will make a difference. Next, we've got not adjusting for your activity levels. So here, the mistake is calculating calories based on a static number without adjusting for changes in your physical activity or your lifestyle. So you could have a really active day and then a not very active day. And so if you're running off of the same calculation, which many people do, that can really throw things off. Not a bad thing. The good thing is to have a goal of what your average activity level is. But if you want to get very specific, if you have a low activity day, you eat low activity-based calories and vice versa. So just adjust your calories based on your current activity level and your fitness goals, and that will help take care of that. Next here, we've got even more relying on packaged foods and serving sizes. So the mistake here is assuming that one serving is the same as the amount consumed when packaged foods often contain multiple servings. So the solution here is to check the serving size on the labels, adjust your calculations based on the actual amount you consume. And an example that immediately comes to my mind are the Nature Valley granola bars. Those things are awesome. I usually eat them with my protein shake after I work out, and I just think they taste really good. But the nutrition facts label will show you the serving size for 1 bar and for 2 bar. And so you just want to make sure that you're following, if you eat both bars, you're tracking both bars, not the one. They can be a little bit tricky like that sometimes. Another mistake is skipping the calorie count for quote unquote healthy foods. So the mistake is assuming that all healthy foods like nuts, avocados, smoothies are quote unquote low calorie and not tracking them accurately. The solution is to track all your foods. Again, we've been on this a billion times, even if they're healthy, as some can be high in calories. And the goal here is that just if you eat healthy doesn't mean that you're going to lose weight, because as we know, you can go to Subway and get quote unquote a healthy sandwich, but once you start putting on some of those condiments and some other things, it's not as healthy as you think it would be. So really keep in mind that healthy foods, well, yes, they are healthy in terms of the micronutrient profile or the fiber that they're providing. They're going to be more well balanced than like a cookie. But at the same time, if you eat one 150 calorie cookie, but then you eat 3 gluten-free, whatever kind of cookies, and those are 100 calories a piece, you'd effectively eat 150 calories more, even though you eat a healthier, quote unquote, alternative. So that's a big issue that many people get conned into as well. At the end of the day, the calories do still matter. So next here is, how do I quickly calculate for weight loss? This is what you kind of wanted. So we talked about all this information, threw a lot at you. There's a lot of things that can be confusing. So here's how I quickly calculate for weight loss, okay? And then ideally you could do the opposite for weight gain as well, but weight loss is usually where people are trying to focus on this. So the first thing here is find your body weight. Very simple. Go step on the scale, see what you weigh. Then you want to figure out your ideal body weight or your goal body weight. And I recommend starting with around 10% weight loss at most to start, because you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. So the reason I say 10% is because, yes, you might want to lose 20%, 30%, but we also want to make it sustainable. So if you start with 10%, that's pretty realistic. So then you would multiply that by 12, and that's going to give you your goal calories that you need. So for the example that I got on here, if we take somebody that weighs 180 pounds as their body weight, they went step on the scale, their goal body weight, so 10% less, is now 162 pounds. That multiplied by 12 gives them a goal calories of 1,944 calories. So 1,944 calories. That's what they want to eat per day. That's the easy way to do it. Okay. I know it's not going to be perfect. Some people are going to feel like they lose weight really fast. Some people feel like they lose weight really slow. But if you want to take everything away from this and not worry about everything I just said and the rest of this presentation, masterclass, whatever you want to call it, if you do this, more than likely you're going to lose weight. Like I'm going to say 95% plus chance if you follow it. And the reason that is that it's going to be aggressive enough that even if we happen to miscalculate, you're still going to be under. And you may lose weight pretty quickly as well. So who knows? You may be able to add some calories over time. But again, this is just one that I found that works pretty well. The other thing you can do here that I want to emphasize is that you eat 1 gram per pound of body weight of that goal weight. So taking our 180-pound individual, that means we want their goal protein to be 162 grams of protein for the day, every single day. Now, again, I know people hear, oh, we eat 1 gram per pound of body weight. Well, that's great, but if we're trying to lose weight, that probably means we've got extra fat mass, which again, you're here to lose weight. That's going to happen. I've got extra fat mass. Everybody's got extra fat mass. But by eating 162, that's going to make sure that we've got enough to be able to recover from our workouts, our strength training, and at the end of the day as well, that we can still have fats and carbohydrates as part of our diet and be more balanced as well. So it's a very realistic thing. And for this example, 162 grams seems like a lot of protein. It really does. But my suggestion is that once you start to learn serving sizes, that the average serving size of protein is about 25-ish grams. Okay, so we're looking at 6 servings, maybe a little bit over 6 servings. So if you're eating 3 to 4 times per day, you're basically looking at around 2 servings every single time. That's basically 8 ounces of meat. That's what you're probably getting if you go to Texas Roadhouse and get the steak, is the 8-ounce steak, right? That's your serving of protein, right? And so it's very doable once you start looking at it from that way. But again, this is my quick and easy way to figure out how to calculate your calories for weight loss. Very, very simple. That's all I've got here today. I appreciate you coming in. There are several people that stopped by through the live stream. If you did, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. This was going to be the time for questions and discussions, but nobody's here, so that's okay. But I hope that this hour masterclass does you some good. Again, if you happen to be listening on Spotify, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen through this. We also got an awesome thing where you can get 10% off from NutriBio with my code at your checkout for listening to today's podcast episode or live. That code is BSmitley10. That's BSMITLEY 10 at checkout. You'll save yourself 10% off from everything at the folks at NutriBio. I appreciate them. They can help you with your weight loss, weight gain, protein, micronutrients. They got all the good stuff. So I appreciate them letting me be able to do that. And I've also got up on the screen, if you want to contact me, different ways you can contact me, whether that be through thirstgym.com directly, for me on Instagram at bsmitley or at team.thirst. Those are also ways you can contact me as well. Again, I know I went through a lot of information here today on this episode masterclass, but the goal here was just give you the complete, simple, and effective guide to being able to lose weight and calculate your calories. And I think we did just that today. So again, thank you for checking in. I appreciate you listening to today's episode. If you watched on YouTube, thanks for doing that. If you're watching this after the fact, again, I appreciate you doing that. And if you are listening and not being able to watch and you want the visual aspect of it, just go over to my YouTube channel. You'll find the episode completely there, the whole hour thing, and you'll be able to go step by step through everything. In case if you are a visual learner like myself, then that will be there for you. So again, thanks for stopping by today. I appreciate you. We will see you at the next episode, and I will be able to announce that on my social media. You'll see it on YouTube. I'll have all that there for you. I'm going to try to get back to doing these because I definitely got off having a kid. I'm sure many of you knew that, but it's definitely made life a little bit hectic. But I'm trying to get out again more educational, long-form content just like this. And honestly, it makes it easier for me to just go live. So that way it's on Spotify. That way, if you're the listening people, you're going to have it. But if you are the visual person, you like it to be on YouTube, it's going to be there as well. And then I also get to use it through other platforms on my end. I can't lie about that. So I get more use out of it as well. So, again, thanks for checking in today. I'll see you at the next one. Have a good one.